witness of such humiliation, towards the black people. This actual slave house was built in 1776 by the Dutch. It was the last slavery ever dated on the island, because the first slave houses were built in 1536 by the Portuguese. The Portuguese being the first Europeans to ever set foot on this island in 1444. And Goree used to be the most important transit center in West Africa. Only in the slave house, we used to have between 150 to 200 slaves, men, women, and children, but completely separated. And in order to be shipped out to the Americas, it was up to the traders. The father could be sent to Louisiana in the United States, the mother to Brazil or Cuba, the child whether Haiti or the Caribbean. So it was complete separation. They left this island under registered numbers, never with their own African name. And once in the plantations in America, then they would wear their master's name. That's the reason why in the US, you have some African Americans with British names, Brazil, Portuguese, Haiti, anti-French, whether a French person name or family name, and Cuba, Spanish name. So those are borrowed names, but not really their own African authentic one. On both sides, you have this cell reserved for men. We have between 15 to 20 inside. They were sitting on the floor, backs against the wall, shackles around their ankles and around their necks. They were only released once a day in order to satisfy their needs outside. And the slaves were living in such bad health conditions, so that the first plague epidemic that devastated the entire island left this house in 1779. With your permission, please follow me so that we can do, quickly those different cells. This cell reserved for men were 2.60 square meters big, 15 to 20 for 3 months. Followed by the children.
Infants, that means children.
Yeah, infants means children. Just follow me, please, because I will give you 5 minutes to run and take your pictures. This way we won't have any interruption. Please. This was the type of cell reserved for infants or children. They didn't give a number. It's a teeny tiny gallery, leading you from the main entrance all the way down to the bottom. They were lying on the floor as if they were sardines in cans. And the value of a man was up to his weight, and the minimum weight was fixed at 60 kg. The value of a young girl was up to her breast and her virginity. And the value of a child was up to his teeth because of the lack of registration. Coming to the girls, their value was up to their breasts, because once their breasts were firm, they could consider them as virgins. This was an African ancient custom that they borrowed to better sell their human merchandise. And for all the slaves, they had their bathroom outside on the dock, except those young girls who had this rectangle you have here used to be their own bathroom. And what happened was some of the European traders used to have sex with the girls, because every single house you can see today on the edge of the island used to be a slave house. This is just a sample. So some of the European traders used to have sex with the girls. Once they noticed that they were pregnant, whether they were released in Saint-Louis, northern Senegal, or on the island. In 1815, during the Vienna Conference in Austria, when Goree and Saint-Louis were given back to France, those mulattoes from a white father and a black mother were granted the French citizenship. So it was a great deal for those girls to give themselves to the traders in order to be free. If I had my sister at that time, I would advise her to do so in order to be quiet. Here, we have the temporary unfit. Why temporary unfit? Because the value of a man was 60 kg. So less than 60 kg, that's where they would stock them, fatten them with black eyed peas and palm oil until they reach 60 kg. Within 3 months, if they could not reach 60 kg, so they were auctioned and sold locally and served as domestics. Under this stairway, we had the rebels, the recalcitrants. Formerly, we had a door hewed out of iron bars, which could allow them to breathe a little. They had to stay in those small holes or up to their mistakes. Small mistake, small punishment. Big mistake, big punishment. And sometimes what they would do, they even don't mind how many would be in, but their concern was just to be able to close the door behind them. That's why they call these les oubliettes. Once you hear, they might even forget you. This is the copy of the same one. A slaveholder, as well as the plantation owner, she was the one who urged her husband to start again with slavery trade. But she was not lucky at all, since we knew that in 1809 she was divorced by Napoleon on behalf of our ancestors. That was something very good for that lady. She deserved it. Here we had the big cell for recalcitrants, where until now we still have complete humidity. The slave house being built by the ocean, maybe it's a reaction from the ocean. As clothing, those poor slaves only had a piece of fabric around their waist. Many of them did die because of pneumonia or other sicknesses. The biggest problem on the island used to be the water problem, lack of water. They used to hold water in containers that they were distributing to the slaves to the drops. And in that water were dying rats, mice, and other parasites. Here we had the women herself. They were treated exactly the same way men were. Shackles around their ankles and around their arms. They had, unfortunately, their own guards, corrupted, more rude against their own sisters. Without a buyer, there won't be any seller, and vice versa. So if you went through all this, it's because of a certain collaboration of traditional chiefs who were corrupted by alcohol and eau de vie that was given to them by the Europeans. So in terms of trade, they would exchange with slaves. That's the reason why the value of a man was a gun or a bottle of rum. You know, the young girl, virgin girl, it was the equivalent of a man weighing 60 kg. The value of a baby was just a small meal. From this way now, leading you out to the ocean, what we're calling the doorway of no return. Why the doorway of no return? Because once the slave stepped it out, then it was bye-bye Africa. On both sides of the gate were posted guards, always ready with the rifles and guns, because in every shipment, some of the slaves attempted to escape and trying to die. But those poor people could not go any further, since we knew that whether they were shot by the guards or eaten by the sharks. And why particularly those sharks? Because when they were sick or agonizing, the only thing they had to do to get rid of them, we said that it was the doorway of no return, since you guys are back. So, you know, let's have a look, and then we're going to look at the way you move real quick, please.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome. Pour les gardiens.
You don't want to jump down there?
Parce qu'au moment de l'embarcation dans les bateaux, il y avait des esclaves qui tentaient de s'évader en plongeant. Soit de abattus par les gardiens, ou bien de voler par les Attends, je vais sortir, tu vas te mettre ici, je vais prendre là-bas. Yes. Donne la parole.
and back from the other side of the doorway of no return, looking out at the ocean. When the black slaves came through here, there was no turning back. They were gone across the waters.
You can see through that window?
Yeah, yeah.
So you got the map. Get your next ship. Lock this down. That's how they did us, man.
Oh, yeah, yeah. You can hear the ocean hitting the side of the walls.
Come on, guys. They say waiting for you guys.
They're waiting for us? Well, let's start headed that way. Let's follow him.
Come on, they're waiting on you. Excuse me, let's go. Come on, please.
We're going to the chamber.
Only men were weighed, and this is where the scale was located. They would sit right here, and then they weigh them. 60 kilograms was the minimum weight, 60 kilograms. So once they were weighed, lined up, they left this room one by one. And the whole matter was concluded between those two stairways you have in the middle of the yard, just like a horseshoe. That's where took place the last bargain in Africa. And we were resting upstairs on their elbows, the European traders and the aquariums watching, the slaves being fingered as if they were animals, in order to give them an idea of how healthy they were and how much they would cost. Because each African ethnic group, some people use tribes. I don't like the word tribe. We have ethnic groups.
Okay.
Some, European ethnic groups have their own code or their own specializations.
Right.
As if they were horses or oxen.
Yeah.
And the most quoted ethnic group was the Yorubas, certain people from western Nigeria and East Benin. Because in the plantations in America, those Yoruba were considered as people only good in terms of making babies. So exclusively for reproduction. That's why they named those Yorubas goat slaves or stallions. Those Yorubas originated from Nigeria and Benin were indeed the ones who transplanted the voodoo to Haiti, Cuba, and Brazil, the voodoo being an African religion. We have other slave houses, such as in Ghana, Cape Coast, Alada in Benin, Ouida in Benin, who was the native land of Toussaint Louverture, who did speak about himself during the Asian campaign. You know that he was deported by Napoleon in that infamous Jew fort where he died in 1803. Upstairs, no comment. That's where the European traders used to live. Our question today is how could they live upstairs and what was going on downstairs? It's up to you to do the parallel. You see, slavery lasted for 300 years. From 1536 with the first Portuguese arrival until 1848, date of abolition of slavery by France. 3 centuries within which 15 to 20 million black people left Goree Island to the Americas. And why particularly this island? Because in terms of geography, Goree Island's location, people talk a lot about the Jewish concentration camp that we do respect as Africans. But the Jewish concentration camp did not last that long compared to what black people went through. And this is the truth.
Say that.
So whether those Jewish concentration camps or those Holocausts that we all survived, we have to have this slave house remain for the coming generation, so that we won't have again a repetition of history. So in a nutshell, ladies and gentlemen, that was, the history of the slave house as far